Hello and welcome to another session. And in this session, I'm going to show you how you can use Maven to build your Java projects. So this video is for all of you who are seeing Maven and who are not so comfortable with Maven and really want to understand Maven inside out. So in this video, I'm going to show you like what are the different issues or what are the different main aspects within Maven, and the things that I'm going to answer, or this video is going to answer, at this following, like what's the project and the folder structure that Maven expects. Second is what are the main phases in a Maven-based build. Third is how to specify external dependencies in Maven, because it is because that we want to use external libraries and dependencies in Maven that we actually want to use Maven rather than using simple Java C compiler. And finally, where does Maven keep the built artifacts, and also from where does Maven download the artifacts? So you will get answers to all these questions, and this video is for all of you who are trying to use Maven either for running your Java program, or you are probably trying to run some build script which is written in Maven, in Jenkins, in some pipeline or somewhere. So welcome to this video. I am Shomik, who is a software developer and architect having more than 2 decades of experience dealing with various kinds of backend systems, and I'm going to make my best effort to actually help you understand Maven internally. So let us see a demo of this Maven, and this is a Java project which is in my GitHub repository, from where you can actually download this project, and the link to my GitHub repository is provided in the description below, and you can actually clone that particular repository. So this is a basic Spring Boot project, and this will be built using Maven. So just to let you understand what are the main things of Maven, to start with, what is the project structure which Maven expects? So if this is the root of the project, which is, you can see that hireable coda.java, so that folder is the root of the project, and Maven expects that the Java files will be in this folder structure, which means under root there should be a folder named src, which is source, and then a folder named main, and then a folder named Java. So Maven expects this directory structure, and if you only place your your classes within this directory structure, only then Maven should be able to find your .java files and will be able to compile them. Otherwise, Maven will not be able to reach your .java file. So this is very important to understand Maven's folder structure, and also this pom.xml is like the central piece of configuration for your Maven build, and this pom should also be kept in the root folder. Now you can also keep the pom in some other folder, and you can still reference the pom, but I'm not going into those kind of roundabout ways. So let us start with this assumption that the folder structure for your Java file should be under src, under main, under Java within the root folder, and the pom.xml, which contains all your external dependencies, and also the packaging of this project should also be within the root folder. Now let us go ahead and see what is the content of this pom file. So this pom file does not contain a lot of contents. So it contains basically the name of this project, the description of this project, which is this, and then a group ID and an artifact ID, because this group ID and artifact ID will be used to actually create the project's artifact. Sorry. And also some properties and dependencies. So dependencies are the external libraries. So this project uses Spring Boot Starter Web as the external library, and Lombok as another external library. So it uses 2 external library, and it uses a specific Maven plugin to build the Maven project. So this is the content of POM. Now, next to that, what we need to understand is how does Maven actually work? Means how does Maven compile? How does Maven create a jar? And how does Maven even download the artifacts, or how it actually installs the jar somewhere locally? So in order to understand that, what we'll have to understand is Maven follows certain steps in the build life cycle. And those steps are like, it basically starts with a cleaning. Cleaning means it actually deletes all the .class files, and then comes the compile. So in compile, it actually compiles all the .java files, and then comes the test compile. So I'm not going into the details of test compile because this is just an introductory video. In test compile, basically, it compiles all the test sources. I've not kept any test sources in this project, so that's why you cannot see them there. And then comes the package phase, and in package, you can create the jar or the var or the year or whatever you want as the final packaging thing of your Maven project. And after that, there is an install phase when you can actually install the created artifact in your local repository. And I will show you where that is and how Maven does that. Before I run some of the Maven commands, let me quickly show you some other interesting things, like where does Maven keep all its dependencies and where does Maven install all the created artifacts. So what are the dependencies of this project? As you can see, Lombok is an external library which this project needs, and also Spring Boot Starter Web is another external library. Now, where does Maven download it from? From which URL does Maven download it from, and where does it keep it in local? Now, Maven by default always tries to download anything from the Maven central repository, which is this. So if you just search for Maven Central in Google, and then you will get the central repository. This is the central repository which is normally used by Maven to actually download any artifacts by default. For example, for Lombok, if I want to see what are the projects there in the central repository, so then it lists project Lombok, and these are all the different versions of Lombok. And of course, the topmost is the latest version. And if I go there, then I see what is the dependency. I can copy it there and I can paste it in the Maven pom.xml. So this is from where Maven by default downloads all the dependencies, and it can also be altered, but that's again something of a special case. I'm not going there for this first video. The second thing is, now where does it keep in the local system those external libraries? That is governed by the settings.xml file, which is there in the Maven installation location. So if you have downloaded an unzipped Maven locally, then say for example, this is my local Maven unzipped location from where I'm running Maven, and this is the settings.xml file which Maven has. And if you open that settings.xml, what you will always find is there is a local repository. So this local repository by default is always a .m2 folder within your user home, which you can, and in my opinion, you should always overwrite to a folder which is normally visible. So that's why in my system, I have a folder like this. So this is a Unix system, a Linux system. You can also use a Windows. The folder structure will be different. So this is my folder, like user, mshowmic, and then softwares, and then personal Maven repo. So all the dependencies, as you can see, are downloaded within this folder structure. So under personal Maven repo, all the dependencies have been downloaded from that central Maven and have been kept here. Similarly, anything which will be built by my Maven job using the Maven clean install, that will be also kept under this personal Maven folder, and following the folder structure, following the group ID and the artifact ID. So that is how Maven works. So let us quickly run Maven. So this is a script which I have created locally to set my Java home and Maven home. And I can also give this, I can also provide the script in the description so that you can use something similar. And so this is the first command that I'm going to use. Say for example, Maven clean. What it will do is it will simply remove all the .class files. So it will remove all the target folder. It will just delete all the class files. And then if I do a Maven compile, it will create the classes. So if I do a Maven compile, it will download the dependencies. So as you can see, it has downloaded the dependencies from central, and then it will compile the classes, and then the classes will be created under target, and you can see the classes have been created here. So these are the classes which have been created. Now, but no jar file has been created. That will be created if I use the next phase, which is package. So if I use package, then it will create the jar file also here. So it has created the jar file here, which in this case is a runnable jar, but that's not the topic of our discussion. And then if I do a Maven install, then it will install the jar in the same local repository where it has downloaded the external library. So see, it has clearly written installing this created jar to users this mshowmake software's personal Maven repo, and then it should be the folder structure, it should be the group ID / artifact ID, because it is the combination of the group ID and artifact ID which gives your specific artifact the unique namespace or the unique space. So what was the group ID artifact ID? For me it was, the group ID was com example, and then the artifact ID was Spring Boot read properties. So com / example, then Spring Boot read properties, and then the version, and then the jar has been created. So it has been placed there. You can also go and verify that the jar has been placed there. So that is how more or less Maven works. And if your build does not work for some reason, or if you want to know some details of what is going on, you can always type the command Maven -x and then the task name. So it will print a lot of more information that might be sometime helpful when we want to debug a non-working Maven build. I think that's all what I wanted to say in the starting project. So you should be able to identify in the structure of the Maven project, and where the Maven will actually download the dependencies and keep it in your local PC, and what is the work of the package and the install tasks, and what is basically the difference between them. And with that said, I'm going to end this video, and with a humble request that if you have actually liked my session and if you think that I have added value, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and also share it with others, and please share your comment because that would help me to actually create more helpful content.